So throughout the history of the church and across the spectrums of the denominations, there have been a lot of different views on communion, different views on who can and cannot partake of the elements, and different views on when and how we should take communion, and different views on what exactly happens during communion. Now, Pastor Jim is going to talk about some of those things in his sermon on Sunday. However, I just wanted to take a brief moment to talk about one of the things that I love most about the United Methodist Church. In the United Methodist Church, we believe that communion is one of the means of grace. And again, the means of grace are the channels where God's grace flows the best, flows the freest, where God's grace flows with no obstacles. And so that means that when we take communion, God's grace flows down on us, that it's a thin space where we are close to God. And because of that, John Wesley said that we should take communion as often as we can. And that is why at Lake Deaton, we take communion every single Sunday. It's a holy moment. It's a chance for us to participate in a means of grace and receive God's grace every single Sunday together as a church family. And because of that, because it's a holy moment, because it's a means of grace, because it's a chance for us to receive God's grace, in the United Methodist Church, we practice something called an open table. And we do that because we want everybody to experience God's grace. On Monday, I talked about how the clergy do nothing in communion besides being the tool to help the process happen. If we kept somebody from the table, we would be getting in the way of God's grace. We would be standing in the middle of the channel. And that's just sad and wrong. We should do nothing to stand in the way of somebody receiving God's grace, because God may be planning on giving somebody a gift during communion, giving them something. And so we should not stand in the way of anybody coming to the table to experience that gift of God's grace. So we believe that all are welcome, young or old, rich or poor, wise or not so wise. All people, all different types of people, any type of person is welcome at the table. They may all approach the table, because at the table God is working and God's grace is flowing, and wonderful, outstanding, exciting, awesome things can happen at the table. So I hope that you are planning on joining us this weekend. Bring your own communion elements as we all, with the rest of the people around the whole entire world, approach the table together to experience God's awesome grace. I will see you this weekend. Bye-bye.